But a big part of our program is about personal responsibility and self-sufficiency. So basically, an easy way to say it is they come there and practice being adults.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Missions That Made Them. I am your host, Jason Verdelli. This isn't just a podcast, but rather it's a movement. It's a movement designed to make the world a better place by bringing more awareness to the great work of the people and organizations making a difference, and more importantly, how you can help. We live in a world today surrounded by a narrative in the media that focuses in on negativity and draws attention to the problems, but not the solutions. Our guests represent solutions, not the problems. And with that, I am super excited today to have on our guests, keep it plural today, got a few members of the team here from Rea of Hope. And I have Marie B. Beaver, who is going to introduce the team here. And we're going to jump in about everything about what Rea of Hope is all about, hear their story, and more importantly, how you can support them and become part of the solution. Again, we all have the ability to take action as individuals. And, we hear from great organizations on this podcast regularly. And I had a chance to check these guys out ahead of time. Their story is amazing. And just super excited to have everybody hear that today. So without further ado, Marie, welcome. And why don't you introduce your team?
Thank you. We're excited to be here and appreciate the opportunity. And I invited Haley Walker today with us. She's our Associate Director. And Brittany Wolf is our Program Manager. Both of these ladies are graduates of our programs and are in recovery themselves. And so they walk the walk every day, and they're perfect examples of what we can accomplish together.
That's fantastic. Fantastic. Haley and Brittany, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here.
Excellent. I always love having guests on that, especially when you have somebody who's really benefited from the programs and have been a part of that. Man, is it just awesome to hear. So I'm super excited to hear some of your stories. But Marie, so tell everybody about what Rea of Hope is and what you do.
Okay, Rea of Hope is a home for women in early recovery from drug and alcohol addiction. We provide them with a place to come after treatment. We're not treatment. When we originally opened in 2005, our idea was to have a place to teach women how to live without drugs and alcohol on a daily basis. So many people would go to a 30-day treatment center and they go right back home or right back to where they'd been, and you'd hear people saying, well, treatment doesn't work. It doesn't work. So we wanted to have an opportunity to have people in a safe environment for an extended period of time to practice what they learned in treatment. And so our minimum stay is 6 months. And the women at Rea of Hope all have to work full time. It's a very structured day. They have chores, they have duties, they have lots of rules. We have zero tolerance. We're an abstinence-based program, and we're 12-step oriented. But a big part of our program is about personal responsibility and self-sufficiency. So basically, an easy way to say it is they come there and practice being adults. They have to learn how to be adults. When we start abusing drugs and alcohol, we stop growing emotionally. And so that's why often you'll hear adults that are 20-something, 30-something, 40-something years old they go to treatment. Well, that's not fair. Well, why should I have to do that? Well, I can't, and it's because they're stunted in their emotional maturity. So they really have to learn and practice that. So I always tell them they don't have to get the job, they have to get a job. They have to practice being a good employee. You get up, you go to work every day, you do a good job, no matter what the job is or how much you're being paid. You practice being honest, you practice being a good mom, you take parenting classes, we do supervised visitations with their children. They go to 12-step meetings, and we have other classes that we bring in, and a lot, like I said, it's a lot based on personal responsibility. Almost everybody that works there is in recovery themselves, including me. I've been clean and sober for a little over 37 years, and I've been working in addictions for almost 36 years. So there's not a lot I haven't seen or done or heard about myself. And I can stop there, or I can keep going.
No, that's great. So, what brought you to Marie? I mean, obviously, so you were brought, into the organization. So you kind of went through the programs yourself, right?
Well, I didn't go through Rea of Hope. I went through
Okay.
other programs back in the 80s when I was getting clean and sober. I moved to Charleston, West Virginia when I got married, and Rea of Hope was not in existence. And there was a group of people had gotten together and had an idea. And then they were able to write a grant, and they got their first grant, and they bought a property, and they got their 501c3 letter. And then they hired me, and they said it was an empty house with nothing in it, not a phone, not a paperclip, nothing.
Yeah.
And said, if you want a job next year, you got to find the money. And of course, I said, well, of course, I'm the right person for the job. I'll do this. I didn't know the name of the street in Charleston. I'd only been there for about a year. I've never written a grant. But I did know about recovery, and I knew about good recovery, and I knew about treatment. I knew what worked and what didn't work. And so for about 18 months, we put together just getting the house ready. Had a lot of good godly intervention with getting things paid for and totally redoing the property. And we were able to start out debt free. And we were able to redo a duplex and had 10 beds. That was our original goal, was to have 10 beds for women to come to and stay at least 6 months. And shortly, probably about a year or two after we opened, we hadn't counted on their children. Even though a lot of them didn't have custody, they still wanted to regain custody, and we wanted to have a safe place for their children to come see their mommies and to visit with them. So we wrote some more grants and opened the first sober living apartment building in West Virginia in 2008, before anybody else was talking about this stuff. We thought, wouldn't it be awesome to have a whole building that everybody in there knew each other, they could support each other like a community, it was safe, and everybody was working on their own recovery at the same time. Yeah. And they could support each other as single moms. So we opened that property in 2008. And then we expanded again in 2012. And again, just this year, we just expanded again. So we've got a very successful program. We found something that works. The longer we can engage these women in a safe, supportive environment, the better their long-term outcomes are. And it's a little bit like parenting. You hope your children are going to do what you teach them to do when you're not looking and when they don't live at home anymore, right?
Right.
So we didn't want to be just effective while they were there with us at Rea of Hope. So from the very beginning, from day one, we tracked all of our graduates for a year, and we tracked them at 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, and 1 year intervals. And we wanted to know if they were still employed. Were they staying clean and sober? Were they staying out of legal trouble? And were they living in a safe place? And so by doing that, if they just went through our first 6 months program, 72% were clean and sober a year later and staying out of trouble and working, which is really high numbers with this population.
Yeah.
If they went to our apartments and stayed at least 6 months there, so they've been with us for a total of a year later, 92% of them were still clean and sober and working and staying out of trouble. So we were able to demonstrate and use that information to encourage them to go into our apartment so they could have additional support, especially with getting their children back and learning how to be a mom again. I know you find this hard to believe, but we have some women that come there pregnant. We have some women that get pregnant while they're there. So there's a lot of single moms, and there's a lot of parenting and a lot of learning and growing up that happens. But we, in a supervised environment, we've been very successful with that model.
Yeah.
And I've got two great examples of that.
Yeah. So Haley and Brittany, what is your experience? What have you experienced through going through Rea of Hope?
So I guess I'll go ahead and jump on here. Hi, Jason.
Sure.
So when I got to Rea of Hope, it was my 5th time in treatment, and I'd been actively using for over 10 years. I'd lost everything. I'd never tried long-term treatment or long-term sober living before. It was always something that was very temporary for me. I was in and out of treatment. But the last time something changed, and I needed to learn how to live and how to take care of myself, or I knew I was going to die. So I ended up at Rea of Hope in May of 2009. And, my sobriety day is, God willing, in a week from today, I'll celebrate 13 years of continuous sobriety.
Wow.
And it's incredible.
Yeah.
It's incredible to me, but it's not any credit to me because I tried over and over to do it myself. And I could never stay clean for any period of time when I wasn't in a controlled environment. And so this last time, when I was able to come to Rea of Hope, I came and I found a family. I mean, I have a wonderful family myself, but at that point I had done so much damage that I don't know what they thought was going to happen, but I'm sure it wasn't good. And so when I got to Rea of Hope, it was like such a fresh start. I was able to really find like-minded women and people that were trying to do what I was trying to do. And, there's so many things that you still come with, even after you're clean and sober. You're just clean and sober, but there's still so much about life and about behaviors and about reactions to situations. Yeah. Like Marie talked about your emotional stability and your emotional growth. It takes a long time to clear all that wreckage. Sorry about that.
Hey, you're out in the field. It's great.
It was really loud. So sorry about that. So, very quickly after I got into phase one, I knew that I wanted to go to phase two. I didn't want to leave, and I haven't left. And, it's been a long time. They can't get rid of me. But Rea of Hope and phase one.
I think you better clarify that. You don't still live there, Haley.
So Rea of Hope and phase one was exactly what I needed at that time to learn how to get back into a routine, learn structure, learn how to, get up every morning and go to work, come home, eat dinner, go to a meeting, go to bed at a reasonable hour, and then get up and do it all over again. It sounds mundane and it sounds repetitive, but it's exactly what I needed at that time. I had to have some sort of stability, and so that's exactly what Rea of Hope provided. And then when I was able to graduate and move into phase two, I feel like that's where my recovery took off, because it was such a wonderful community of women. I was able to go back to school. I had the support from Rea of Hope. I brought my firstborn son home from the hospital to New Life Apartments. And that was where he spent the first 18 months of his life, surrounded by a community of women that all were doing the same thing that I was doing. And so, I continue to be in awe every day of the miracles that come out of Rea of Hope. And I feel just totally blessed that I'm even able to continue to be here and share the message with the next newcomer, because that's what it's all about. We have sayings in different, groups that we're in. You can only keep what you have by giving it away. And it sounds so silly, but it's really so true. And so that's just my favorite part of being with Rea of Hope. And I don't think I'm ever going to leave.
Yeah. Well, and the fact that you're even on the podcast is amazing, right? You're telling that story, and it takes everybody, right? It takes everybody participating together. It takes the organization, and Maria, and your work to build the structure and to get the word out too that this exists, as well as Haley, from your standpoint, obviously going through the program, but having the responsibility to, or really, I don't want to say necessarily the responsibility, but the care and the giving, the nature of giving back to society, the society that there's other people that need you. There's somebody that was where you were, what was it, in 2009 or whatever. 2009. So there's somebody out there right now that's dealing with that. So your words and everything else is a big part of the solution. You are a part of that solution because of your ability, your willingness to give back, even just by spreading the word. So that's just hats off to you.
Thank you.
And Jason, can I just add with Haley that, she's worked herself up through going to school and earning her degrees and other certifications. She's worked her way up through different jobs at Rea of Hope, the skills she already had, and then added to that skill set to now the associate director's job. which she's in charge of all the day-to-day
Wow.
overall operations. So, that's one of the parts of Rea of Hope too, is that we hire our graduates, and we see the potential in them. And that Brittany and Haley are two superstars, obviously.
We learned from
You'll hear a little bit from Brittany.
What's that?
I said we learned from the best.
Yes. Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. So Brittany, tell us your story. What was your involvement with Rea of Hope?
Okay, so like Haley, I had a wonderful family, and addiction does not discriminate. And I went on.
No.
It was whenever I was in college at WVU when I started using, and it was a spiral. It happened. It went from zero to full-fledged, addiction fast, and I suffered consequences fast. So when I came to Rea of Hope, I was 22, and that was the first time I came to Rea of Hope. And I actually went to Rea of Hope twice. The first time I was not successful. The first time I did not want to get clean. I had gotten into legal trouble, and it was the only option given to me. And, I am a firm believer that we will not stay clean until we want it ourselves. And I had to reach that level of desperation. So the first time I came to Rea of Hope, I was only there for 2 weeks, and I relapsed, and I ended up overdosing, and I was in the hospital for 3 months fighting for my life. I was in a coma for a month. But that was what I needed in order for me to see that the way I was living only led one way, and that was... Sorry.
I hate she's frozen because she's got such a miracle story.
Can you see me now?
Brittany?
It is. Can I just you're just totally frozen.
Okay.
So sorry. Hang on 1 second.
I can tell a little bit of Brittany's story. I mean, she came to us for this when she came back the second time. Like she said, she had overdosed, and she was in the hospital for 3 months, like she said, and she was in a coma fighting for her life. Really didn't know if she was going to live or not. She had to learn. Then she went to had to learn how to walk again, how to everything. She was on dialysis. They didn't know she'd ever regain any of this kidney function or anything like that. So she's a true miracle. And I think, Brittany, if you're back, I'll stop and let you pick up. From coming home from the hospital.
I'm on Haley's. Sorry. Yes. So after I got out of the hospital, that was when that was the desperation that I needed, and the humility for me to see that I could either continue using and die, or I could get into the solution and try something else. And as soon as I was able to talk again, I told my mom, I have to go back to Rea of Hope, because just in the short 2 weeks that I was there, I could see that the program worked. And at that time, it didn't work for me because I didn't want it. But I knew that if I applied myself and did what was asked of me, that I could, that was what I loved about Rea of Hope, is we could see the solution through the employees there. So I knew that that's what I wanted. And when I went back to Rea of Hope, I gave it my all, and I did everything that was asked of me. I set goals for myself, and I worked really hard to achieve them with the support of the staff. And that's just when, the miracle really unfolded in my life. And, God's will for me was way bigger than I ever dreamed that it could be. And I also went to our Phase 2 program, New Life Apartments. And it was there that I had gotten my license back after not having it for 7 years. And I ended up going back to school and finishing my bachelor's degree, which I also never dreamed that I didn't even believe I was worthy of. And while I was at Rea of Hope, it was Marie and Haley and other staff members that believed in me until I could believe in myself. And so after I graduated our Phase 2 program, I was in school and I got married. And I had my son, which I never also thought was possible. And it's just, I started working at Rea of Hope when I was in the apartments. And it's just I love coming to work every day because it feels like home. And I can see women that were where I was and helping guide them into, a life that is just so amazing today. And I'm just very grateful for Rea of Hope and my recovery. And, I often think to myself, why is it that some people are able to get it and others aren't? And I just feel so blessed in myself that I found this support group and my job and God and, 12-step recovery. And I truly believe if it weren't for Rea of Hope, my life wouldn't even be a fraction of what it is today.
Wow. What amazing stories. What amazing stories. I mean, and you know what I like about it too is you guys give back. You're giving back. You've gone through the program. You realize how hard it is. I mean, Haley, you've been through, like, you didn't, wasn't, you had to kind of go back in, right? You had to really work at this, but realizing that it really centers you and gives you the foundation of everything from, getting literally back on your feet in your case, right? Teaching you how to walk again and things like that, to which it's awesome. I love you guys are both together there.
So sorry.
It's great.
He's on Sprint, so we're struggling.
Yeah. we won't mention that in the
Sorry.
yeah. We won't mention that in the description section of the podcast, but thanks any of the self providers.
And
but no, I mean, what's really cool is, and what I'm big about
is that I was one of the first 5 original graduates from the Phase 2 program, and we have a little group. It's not just the employees that are still there and the graduates that are still there. We have a connection for a lifetime, and so we have a little group. We call ourselves the Fab Five, and we're the first 5 graduates of New Life Apartments.
That's great.
And we're all still in touch, and we're all still friends, and we get together, and our kids know each other, and that was one of the most amazing things to me, because I was a first-time mom when I was at New Life Apartments, and there were 7 doors that I could literally walk across the hall and knock on, and every single one of those women is, clean and sober, mothers themselves, some experienced, some not, and we all just supported each other. It was like a huge family. It still is, and I just think that's one of the most amazing things about our program. It's a culture that you can't duplicate.
Yeah. Well, and you like you just said it right there. It's a family. You become a family. It's the sense of family, and it truly does become a family, because what does family do? Family gives back. If family doesn't give back, people die. If you have a kid and you don't love that kid, it's going to die, because it needs to feed. It needs all these things to stay alive. It can't self-sustain, especially those early years of life. But, I think as a society, we look at, big part of the problem is we look at, sometimes, early years in life, that's the case. But as time goes on, sometimes we have roadblocks, we stumble, we fall. We need help. We need that help in getting back up. And who is there for that? Society's very quick to say shame on you. But it is. I know people that have struggled a lot through different parts of their life and everything. And obviously, like this is. It is freaking hard. It is really, really hard to get back up on your feet, mentally, too. Just mentally, not just physically, but mentally, and dealing with that. When you deal with things like addiction and everything else, people don't realize the connection between mind, body, and spirit. So, Rea of Hope, you guys get that, which is just phenomenal. I love it. I love it. Yeah. So where do you see the future? Where do you obviously what's your vision really for Rea of Hope going forward?
I think the going forward is that the sober living has really taken off in the last 5 to 10 years. It's more and more prevalent and popular, and if it's done right, it can be very successful, and we can be very good neighbors. Unfortunately, there's a lot of sober living homes that open up that kind of give the rest of us a bad reputation.
Right.
But one of the best things about Rea of Hope is that they're supervised 24/7. It's not peer run. They're all peers, but it's not peer run. We have paid employees to make sure that everybody's behaving.
Yeah.
Okay, and that we're being good neighbors. So that's really important to us. And I think we've had over 250 women graduate our program. And we've been able to reunite almost 400 children with their mommies. and we've been able to give daughters back to their parents and
Right.
sisters back, and
400 children back to their
100
parents.
children reunited with their moms. Yeah, but that's
Wow.
over, a 16-year period. But those are things that are important.
Oh.
That's why we keep up with that. A lot of these women have more than one child, and but a lot of them come there and they're in foster care. We have a current family, which is why we're all about the extended program. If we continue to expand, it will definitely be with the apartments for longer term living. And we just built one, and it's a 3-bedroom townhouse that Haley supervised the project. And we were able to move a family of 5 in there that we had originally rented an apartment for because we didn't have anywhere big enough for them. But it was a lady that was doing a lot of hard work, just like these ladies, and really motivated. She had 4 children, 2 girls and 2 boys. And originally they were in 4 separate foster homes. And then they were able to have the girls together and the boys together. And then the really sad moment was when she graduated from our program, we didn't have an apartment big enough for all of them. So she had to make a really tough decision, and she got the 2 youngest girls, and the boys had to stay in foster care until we could find something. And it just kept me up at night. I kept thinking, we got to figure out, there's got to be a way we can do this. And normally, writing grants and working with all that, it takes a year or 2, to get a project and complete it. And so these kids didn't have a year or 2. This family didn't have a year or 2. So one day, just right across the street, right in my face, was this sign that says 3-bedroom apartment for rent. Well, it never crossed my mind to rent anywhere because we always bought and then refurbished and rehabbed and started,
Right.
And it was ours. And so that was a new avenue. So I had to submit it to our board. I said, I found an apartment. I need y'all to give me $25,000 to pay rent and to utilities and to buy furniture and to furnish it for this family. We got to get this mom with her kids, we got to get them all under one roof.
Yeah.
And
Right.
so we were able to do that. And they were the happiest little family, and they lived there in that apartment for over a year until we got them in this brand new 3-bedroom townhouse. And nobody could be any happier than they are to be together and to be grateful. The mom's got a great job. She's been focused on her children. The kids are all succeeding and doing well and active and stuff at school. And, so that, how can you put a price tag, or how can you say, just with even one family that's able to be successful like that? And we have hundreds of families like that. So that's what I see. I see us just continuing to do what we do well, which is an abstinence-based, 12-step oriented, personal responsibility-driven program. There's a lot about medication-assisted treatment, and there's a lot of money in that. I'm not saying that we don't believe in that. It's just not for us. It's not what we do. We believe there's multiple pathways to treatment and to recovery, and ours is an abstinence-based one. And we've been really successful with that. So we have not succumbed to the pressure to be able to do, that right now. So we want to stay doing what we do well. And it's kind of like I told them when I was talking about it, is that, if I was a brain surgeon, you wouldn't come to me because you had kidney problems, okay? You go to a kidney guy. So if somebody wants to do medication-assisted treatment, that's great. They need to go to somebody that does that and understands it and believes in it. And then if they want an abstinence-based pathway to recovery, they need to come to us because that's what we do well and what we believe in and what we think is successful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And it's, and the fact that you're disciplined, you're holding everybody accountable in the program, as you mentioned, is huge because that's where a lot of those issues happen. And you're really doing it right. As I say, that makes sense. It makes sense, and you're doing it right. How does somebody? I love this conversation, and Haley and Brittany. It's awesome to have you guys on. What can somebody do? A big part of what we talk about in the podcast is what people can do to be able to support these organizations so they can be a part of the solution, no matter where they're at. You're in Pennsylvania, or you in Florida, you're in California, or whatever, but you believe in this story, you believe in this type of mission. What can people do to support you?
Well, one thing is that we have a big annual Miracle on Lee Street dinner and silent auction once a year because we are not supported by any one entity. You know, we write lots and lots of grants, and we are a nonprofit. We don't bill insurance. We don't allow people's parents to pay for them to be there. Their boyfriends can't pay. The women that come there have to pay themselves out of what they earn at their job. They have to learn how to take care of themselves. We've had a lot of parents that call us and say, I just want to help them. Let me go ahead and pay for their first month, take the pressure off. We're like, nope, no, thank you. You've paid quite enough for them over the years. They've got to learn how to do this for themselves. And it's, believe it or not, something that small is hugely empowering to these women to realize that they can pay their own way and not have to stay in, you know, relationships or in places that are not healthy for them because they think I can't do it. So one way of helping is by supporting our dinner. We have donations. We have a great website, reofhope.org, that you can go to and donate on there. And we have a list of supplies that we need. You wouldn't believe how many rolls of toilet paper and paper towels 40-something women and children can go through in a month. So laundry detergent, just basics. Personal umbrellas, because the girls walk. You know, they're on the bus line. They have to walk to the bus. They walk to work in all kinds of weather. So we make sure that everybody has an umbrella. We make sure that everybody has coats and scarves and hats in the winter in West Virginia, you know. And we make sure their children have birthday presents. So that they all have Christmas. That everybody gets something on Valentine's Day. And we have 200 trick-or-treaters at Rea of Hope every year. And women love giving out the candy to all the neighborhood children, you know.
Yeah.
So there's the ways to support us, you know, is through donations of items that we need, or you can make cash donations. You can come to our dinner. You can donate auction items. There's all kinds of different ways like that. We have some groups that come there and do projects that Haley supervises that too. They might come down and put down our mulch for us, paint an apartment, you know, clean an apartment that's been vacated. We try to find little things. There's a lot of groups that like to do something, youth groups and church groups and different groups of civic clubs that want to just do something in the community. So those are some ways that people can help.
Yeah. That's incredible. And it really, you are a part of the solution. You know, we talk about in this podcast all the time, which is, you know, individuals, you, the listener, the person watching this, you have the ability to be the difference by supporting these organizations. You know, you don't have to, what I love about nonprofits is you don't have to create it. It's already created. Like Rea of Hope already exists. You've gone through, you've created such an amazing organization, and Haley and Brittany, just your stories are enough to, and you are living, breathing examples of success. And if you believe in success, you believe in helping people get back on their feet. We've all been down there a time or two in some way, shape, or form, right? Maybe different things, maybe not addiction, but it could have been this, could have been, you know, depression, it could have been anxiety, could have been a number of different things that leave you to wander wander down maybe the wrong path. But I believe that if you believe that in helping other people to do that, you become part of the solution. We don't, you know, waiting for our government to do it, waiting for companies to do it, waiting for other people to do it, somebody else will help them, is not the solution. You know, the solution is by taking action, and man, does it feel good to do that. Man, does it feel good. Even like you said, donating supplies that you need, all these things, like, even praying for them is great. You know, I mean, that's a starter. It doesn't cost anything. So, you know, start with that. And man, you want to talk about creating a great feeling for yourself is to do those things, right? Is to give to the people and organizations making a difference so they can make the world a better place. And so I congratulate you, Marie, and Haley, and Brittany. Just your story, your willingness to help other people and to give back is commendable. And you are the example of exactly who I'm proud to have on the missions that made them. And you serve really the mission that we have. So what else? Is there anything else you wanted to share before we hop off?
I I just wanted Brittany and Haley to tell people how to get in touch with Ray of Hope if anybody's interested or has a family member that they're concerned about. We get a lot of phone calls, but they can give you like the number and how to read what the wind's not too bad. I'll let y'all shoot it a shot.
By the way, Haley and Brittany, you guys have done an amazing job holding that phone steady the entire time. I think this is great. I mean, for anybody who's been holding a phone, I mean, for 34 minutes, that long, and to keep it as steady as you have is absolutely amazing. I just had to say it.
We've been swapping arms.
Right,
okay.
left, right,
Yeah.
left, and
You get a sore arm the next day. Where were you? I was on the Missions That Made Them podcast. Yeah.
Yeah, so like
anyway, go ahead.
mentioned, for anyone that would want to get in touch with us for themselves, for a family member, for support, or to how to give, they can contact us on our main office phone line is 304-344-5363. They can also email us through the website. There's a contact option when you go to reaofhope.org, and it is spelled REA because it is a namesake. So it's REAOFHOPE.org. And they can contact us. Those emails come directly to me, and I'm able to respond right away. We also have a social media, a very active presence on social media. We have a Facebook page, again spelled Rea, REA of Hope, and they can private message us there as well. Someone's always ready to take a phone call or respond to a message.
Yeah, this is awesome knowing exactly who you're dealing with too. You see it right here. That's amazing. That's amazing. Any last words, Marie or Haley?
I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to get, the message out there. We feel very blessed. We're successful. We always have a waiting list. It's not like we're trying to drum up business, but I think if we can pass on anything today is hope. I've always believed that as long as they're alive, there's hope. There's a lot of family members and a lot of addicts and alcoholics that have given up and think that they're never going to get it, or they've already been to treatment and it didn't work. I personally went to treatment 5 times too. My family gave up on me. They still loved me, but it was too painful. It was too painful to be a part of my life. And so, the last time when I made all these promises, I learned not to even say I'm not going to do this again, because I'd made those promises before and they didn't really mean anything anymore. So, for some reason, the three of us are living, walking testimonies that people can and do recover. And you don't have to die from this disease. Mm-hmm. A lot of people do, but you don't have to. And so if there's anything else, like I said, I just want to know that there's hope out there.
And that's it. I think it's knowing that if we can bring hope, if you can, in your organization, Rea of Hope has really done that extremely well, has executed extremely well. But I think as anybody listening to this, if you are looking for hope, right? Maybe you're in the same scenario. There's some of these stories, if Marie or Haley or Brittany's story has resonated in any way, then, you can either seek support, seek help, knowing that there is help out there. I think that's the one thing is part of the world we live in is we are, constantly being barraged with messages that how bad the world is, or how, of the problems that exist in the world. I mean, you just turn on the news, it's like problem, because problems bring attention. But what we don't hear about is the solutions. And right. I think that, if we realize that, I think we just know, okay, well, hey, how can we be a part of that solution? How can we do that? We don't, if you don't have a nonprofit, you're, just somebody who has a job, somebody who's out there, who's looking to make the world a difference. You don't necessarily always have to do that to your job. You can get involved into organizations and support organizations like Rea of Hope. And it really does give you a deeper sense of purpose and a deeper sense of mission. And that is a big part of a fulfilling life. So that is just something that I think everybody can take away from today, is that there is hope out there, and you can be a part of giving that hope to other people by taking action. And you can take action today by going to reaofhope.org. So again, REA of hope.org, and definitely reach out to them and support them in any way possible. The other way you can also support is by sharing this video. So if you're wherever this is at, by clicking share, be sure to share out with friends, colleagues, the regular community, right? There's somebody that is connected to somebody else that's connected to somebody else that could probably need that either needs the help or is willing to support. So just by sharing, you can do a lot. Be sure also to subscribe to the Missions That Made Them here. Be sure to smack that bell so you can get the notifications on new episodes that pop up. And, from there, I think we'll, keep on bringing hope to the world, right?
That sounds good. Thank you so
Excellent.
much again for the opportunity.
Yes, thank you for having us, and I apologize for the sound and the technical difficulties.
I love it.
We find a way, and we will always find a way. Marie talked.
They're traveling today, so they stopped, and they're just like on the side of the road somewhere. I hope that a safe place.
Yeah. They say podcasting does not need to be. You can do podcasting anywhere, right? You can have conversations literally anywhere these days, and it does not have to. I always tell people, pick up your phone. Like you have a story to tell, you can pick up your phone and do that. And I think the fact that you guys have along your journey today jumped on or your willingness to share that story goes to show you just some amazing human beings that exist on earth here that are really want to be a part of that solution. And Haley and Brittany, you are examples of those types of people. And Maria as well, with your ability to really rein in the organization and really to grow it and to guide that vision for other people that want to support that. You all are going to save lives in the process, right? You know that people succumb to addiction and things like that. So it's your message. Somebody watching this podcast, hopefully this can reach them and save their life and bring hope to make their life a better place and ultimately the world a better place. So with that said, everybody,
even one makes it worth it.
What's that?
Even just one life.
Just one. That's it. I said, well, I do it in this podcast. I said, if I had saved one life in this podcast by reaching and bringing awareness to the people that they just happen to be in a spot, and they watch this and they're introduced to organizations that can help them, then I would have accomplished my mission on this podcast by doing that. So, but again, we need your help, the listener, the viewer. We need you to share this. And I think together we'll be able to get this story out to as many people as possible and make this world a better place.